But anyway, let's get started. And as we end the year, first of all, for those of you who are somewhat new to FX Street and have not heard me talk about anything before, I'm kind of going to just jump right into the strategy application. And the strategy that I almost always focus on and talk about is just quantifying real supply and demand in the market, identifying price levels where the real sellers and buyers are in a market, not conventional technical analysis. I'll get into that in another session. There's also plenty of recordings on the website for you to review. And I'm saying that in case anything we talk about here confuses you. So why don't we, as the year is kind of coming to an end here, I want to kind of take a look at each time we go to a market, we'll start with the big picture and what that is likely to look like over the next few months, and then we'll also set up some short-term trades. So we'll kind of get the best of both worlds. Now, in the bigger picture, for those that have been with us for a couple years or so, you'll see that most of the time we're very accurate in the big picture, and that's because, again, when you're quantifying supply and demand, especially in the larger time frames, you should be able to do pretty well with it. Okay. Anyway, so let's take a look at this weekly chart of the euro. Not a lot to talk about here. This is how the chart has looked for many months for us. We've had these levels on. Prices hit the top level. They barely, not even really touched the bottom level. But it looks like prices are on their way back down, right? So, very quickly, and this shouldn't take more than a minute, over the next few months, or at least month or so, we would expect prices to stay between these two levels. Obviously, this because of how we just touched the top one and then fell. Everett, I'll re-grab the chart for you. Okay. There you go. Okay, there you go. Should be able to see it again. Yeah, when someone comes in, I'm not saying you do, but when someone comes in a little bit late, I think I always have to re-grab the chart. But anyway, so given the fact that price barely touched the top level and fell so hard, our top supply level, I would be very surprised if prices went up through that level anytime soon. In fact, I'd say this lower level is more at risk than the upper level. But we'll get into that why in a little bit. But anyway, we would take another, as you can see, a few weeks ago, price almost touched the bottom level and turned higher. So what does that tell us about the supply-demand equation down there as well? Small imbalance or big imbalance, right? How do we read that? Well, the fact that price couldn't even get there and turned higher, yeah, exactly, Borb, is probably a pretty strong imbalance. So we would look to lean on that level for long positions. Now, if and when prices get to either of those big picture levels, we could certainly take them as swing trades as we did, or you could also take them as you can lean on those levels in day trades for day trades, right? Okay. So I would do something like this. Let me just draw something in here and show you. Okay. All right. I'm just going to do. Hang on a second. Actually, it's going to take too long. Never mind. What I was going to get at, when prices are at or near these big picture levels, as a day trader, you want to come down and only take smaller time frame demand levels as buy setups and ignore the supply levels as sell setups. Is everybody pretty clear on that? Okay, you can also day trade off these areas. Just make sure you're looking for long setups on small time frames when you're near larger time frame demand, and sell setups in supply levels when you're near larger time frame supply. That's all. So given that price has some room to fall to this demand level below, okay, I'm going to focus on this 30-minute chart for a few minutes, and I'm going to do that right here. Okay, going to focus in on this area that I just circled. Let me grab it for you. Okay, so now that level's right around 131. Okay, and if you see where 131 is on the weekly chart or daily chart, right? It's still a far enough away from larger time frame demand to take a short-term trade. Okay, and perhaps this one will hit during our session today. We'll see. So that area that I circled, though, I'm not just going to try to draw a supply level out of that. Okay, instead I'm going to go down to this 5 or 10 minute chart and really be able to hone in on a quality small time frame supply area of supply. Okay, So I'm going to do that here. Let me just do that. Let me just draw that in for you. Give me just a second. I'll capture the chart again for you. Now, there's two ways people would do this, at least in our program, okay? So there you go. There's that little 10-minute chart. All right. D-Nice, yeah, it all depends on what your definition is of a supply and demand level, okay? Because most levels I find that people point out, we would not call them supply levels, right? Remember, they have to meet our criteria. A lot of people say, oh, you know, that support level, you know, didn't hold. Well, that depends on your definition of support. You know, one level, that's the trickiest thing for a lot of people in trading is people think of support and resistance. The problem is everybody's speaking a different language, right? To one person, support and resistance is a Fibonacci retracement level. To another person, it's a pivot high or pivot low or a moving average or an Elliott wave point. I could go on and on. But we have to be careful and make sure that our definition of support and resistance matches where, you know, the definition of where real buyers and sellers are. Anyway, take a look at the 10-minute chart. So some people would draw the level like that and take this as a short-term trade. If you're going to take it on a small time frame like that, you're probably better off doing it in the currency futures, okay? And actually, if this one comes up, I might do it here. Other people in our program would take the upper portion of that, and it would look something like this, okay? Some people that are looking for a really tight stop would take a level, draw your lines like that. All right. All right, so let's take a look, and I think we'll leave that one alone, okay? All right. Yeah, in the S&P, we're just, I think, getting to a supply level. I don't know if we're there yet, but we can take a look in just a little bit. If there's time at the end of the session, we'll take a look at the S&P. But I know we're getting close to a big area up there on a larger time frame. Okay. So we'll leave this euro in. So again, I think we've got the big picture covered. Okay. And then this one, yeah, this is not your standard rally-based drop. Obviously, this level around 131.40 is better. But I would also expect prices to, you know, at least have some reaction off this 130 kind of 85 area. All right. Remember all those trades I showed you last time? I showed you about 2 weeks worth of trading and statements and stuff. Those are all little trades like this, taken into currency futures. Okay. All right. Let's move on to another market. And again, we're just kind of picking on this area here where we'd expect there to be some sellers. Okay. And let's move on. Let me pull a chart up here and I'll grab it for you. So here's that daily pound. This is the one we set up in here. We spent like a long time on this one. And remember we said, I wanted to review this one with you because this is such an important point. Remember on this one? I'll be able to hear. Sound should be okay. So the whole point with this one, now this one worked out real well, and it looks like we're almost near the target, but take a look at the supply levels here, okay? So we had rally-based drop, but then we had this cluster of trading right before it. Remember that? And then we had a strong drop in price out of it. So this kind of three-step process here, the reason why I'm pointing this out is this is the picture of a very, very quality setup, okay? And here's exactly what I mean by that. This has the three key components to a key level, all right? Trade's working out pretty good, but take a look. So we have rally-based drop, which is a supply level, step number one. Number two, we have a cluster of trading just under that, which means, remember this part, it's important. Remember, if you have this little, you know, speed bump of supply just below the rally-based drop supply, that means that we're going to have a lot of buying is going to take place to get up to our supply level where we want to sell at, okay? In other words, the presence of this cluster of trading, this supply right here, means that it's going to take a lot more buying power to get up to our supply level that we want to sell short at. Which means by the time, if and when price gets to this level, like see here, it just touched it up here, you're going to be reaching that level with fewer buyers on board because you had to use up so many here. Okay? That creates, what does that create? a big supply and demand imbalance right up here. You're reaching a fresh supply level with few buyers on board, okay? And the third step in identifying a quality level like this is how prices left the level, okay? How prices left the level. We want to see a nice strong drop in price. We had it here, and then it continues on for a few more candles. And this is a daily chart, okay? All right. The origin of any strong move in price, C focus, is there's an imbalance there. But how imbalanced, how out of balance the equation is, that's the key thing that makes the level work or not, and that's why we focus on the odds enhancers, okay? Well, remember, the plan is to take the outer level. The plan is to take the Dister level, the one that matches our criteria, rally-based drop. Remember, we like the fact that this is here just before this, okay? So I would get this picture in your head, because if you do nothing else but take opportunities that have this picture, you've got three of the most important components to the trade. Does that make sense? Okay. And even if the trade didn't work out, which it is, I would still just say the same thing. All right? All right. Now, how do we like this demand level below? And actually, this line should be a little bit lower. But how do we like this demand level below? Does this have any of those things that we're looking for? Now, obviously, this is a target. Okay. This is a target for our short position up here. Okay. But does this have any demand before you get to it? Well, we've got this area right here. I'm going to circle it, and then I'll capture the picture for you. All right, there we go. So, someone asked about the larger time frame pound. Let's take a look at that. Okay. And again, having said all this, not every trade is going to be a winner, and not every trade, needs to be a winner. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the bigger time frame, and this one is a little trickier, but I think we'll be okay. So if we're going to mark off our supply and demand levels in the larger time frame here, we're really going to have to go with three things. Okay, if you want, I'll just draw those in for you, and then I'll explain them. Give me just 10 seconds here or so. I should be able to take a look at that. So there's larger time frame pounds. Okay, and the things I would focus on, obviously we've got this area above, and this is a weekly chart, so we've seen what a level like this produces in the euro. I mean, that was, I think that was an enormous drop when price hit our supply level there. And then, and there's the demand level below, which looks just as good, if not better, because of the strong rally out of this area here. But then I circled this little speed bump in here, okay? This is an area I would definitely focus on. I'd be very surprised if price came down and fell right through 152, without stopping at all. So between 150, 152, I would certainly expect there to be a bounce. Prices just don't cruise right through levels like that, typically. Could it happen? It could. You hardly ever see it. Okay? So that's kind of our bigger picture pound. All right? If you're doing some, I don't know if you do any options on currencies. I've done tons of those, and the big picture levels are important especially if you're doing longer term options. Okay. Let's move on. Let's try to get to as many markets as we can today. So let me grab another one here. Yeah, Paul. I don't think that was. I don't think that one was fresh, but we might have some time to take a look back at that. Okay. C focus, yeah, that's exactly what it does. It certainly creates higher probability trades. Okay. You definitely want to match up your short-term trading with your larger time frame areas. You'll find bigger profit margins, bigger profit zones. The odds will be stacked in your favor more, right? Okay. Let's take a look at Aussie. Okay. And then just a second. Trying to read back here. Don't want to miss anything. Yeah, let's take a look at the Aussie here. So bigger time frame, not a whole lot to talk about there. I mean, this thing's way up on the curve, but you're not going to really find any, supply there, right? Okay. So we had a good year's worth of trading off that prior level, and now we've gone through it, and that's what we would expect. So now let's focus on what we have on the smaller time frames. And the only thing we really see here, and I don't even know that it's worth taking a shot at it, but just because we've already, if you look at the weekly chart, okay, when price gets up to the 101.30 area, it falls lower. Okay, we already have some evidence of that, and it actually had a pretty significant drop. Okay. Yeah, because this thing is at like super highs, that doesn't make it, that doesn't say we should just go looking for a short. In fact, we always want to be trading with the trend. Okay. Be careful if something just looks extended. The only reason you want to short something is because, the big picture, you've seen the supply level come in, and, right, because you're reaching some larger time frame supply. Don't assume something's going to turn lower just because it's high. But let me draw on this level that we're going to focus on for a few minutes. Aussie chart, okay? Yeah, trend definitely depends on definition. Sorry about that. Yeah, trend definitely depends on definition, okay? Absolutely. But remember, every big picture trend ends at larger time frame supply. Okay, every big picture uptrend ends its larger time frame supply and begins at larger time frame demand. Okay, and we certainly want to trade with the trend, but what the supply demand thing adds to the equation is that you can be in the trend, as it begins. That's when the smart money gets in the trend. Okay, you're not going to, remember, conventional trend analysis is all about higher highs and higher lows and upsloping and downsloping moving averages and things like that, right? We don't want to do that. That's because that's all kind of late to the party trend analysis, right? Okay. If we wait for that stuff, we're just going to be buying late and selling late. Okay. All right. Correct. SD, absolutely. Absolutely. And the truth is, I didn't really want to say this here, but I'll say it anyway. And maybe some of you have gotten to this point already. Okay. The better you get at the supply demand stuff, the word trend is going to, drift away from your vocabulary. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Because the better you get at the levels, the more you're going to be in the trend as it's beginning, right? Okay. Why does support become resistance? Because remember that's the odds enhancers. Okay, the odds enhancers. One of the most important odds enhancers is retracement. So when price comes back to a level for the first time, that's when we want to take action, not the second time, third time, or so. Because what's happening is once the supply level is created, let's take this Aussie level up here on the 30-minute chart that I captured for you. Let me blow this up a little. Right now, okay. Right now, a rally-based drop supply level has been created. Okay, right. So, price has not been back to that level once. That means there's however many willing sellers are there waiting and left behind. Each time we come back to that level, that number of willing sellers is going to be going down, right? Decreasing. Eventually, if this trend continues, that supply level will be absorbed, and enough buyers will come in, and price will go through that level. And that's when a supply level becomes a demand level. So then we would let price go up through that level eventually, and then buy the first retracement. And that's how And that's how you always stay ahead of everybody else, by getting in the trend before it starts, right? Okay. Don't get me wrong, when you have higher highs and higher lows and all that, you want people jumping into the market, and you just don't want to do it. You want to be in already and be getting paid from the people that read all the trading books, right? All right, so back to this 30-minute level. The good news, it appears to be pretty high on the curve. It's a fresh level, okay? The downside is we don't officially have larger time frame supply yet. So there's the positive and negative around this level, and I think we'll just probably leave it at that, okay? Given the way the prices rallied, the prices could rally up to this level, it looks pretty good. One of the things you want to look for, I can give you, can you see my pointer moving around? Because there's a couple little hints I can show you, kind of little nuances. Okay, so we've got the supply level, right? But we don't know until we enter it, until after the fact, whether it was good or not. All right? Boyke, I definitely do not wish I was. I definitely do not wish I was still at the exchange. I am one of the big proponents. I think you have a much bigger edge off the floor than you do on the floor if you know what you're looking for, right? Okay. Remember, on a trade desk, I can only see our own firm's order flow. But on the charts, you can see everybody's supply and demand, right? So take a look. Here's a little, this is a little nuance I think that'll really help you if you're into this stuff. So how do we know how strong this supply level is? And if there's no supply in the larger time frame, how do we know kind of where we're at? Are we like sitting right on top of the top? Is this the top of this market? Or is there still a lot of room to go? One of the little things you can look for, okay? One of the little things you can look for, take a look at this demand level here, and actually I'll circle them because I don't know how delayed this, I'm on a pretty strong connection here, but I don't know how delayed it is. So let me just circle these so we're all focused on the same thing. Okay, let me capture the picture. Okay. So, do you see how when prices recently fell from this rally-based drop supply area, you see how the price just went right down through both of these levels without even pausing much? Does everybody see that? That's a clue. Okay, that's a clue. All right? When you start just going right through these little speed bumps here and price doesn't even stop, that's a clue that you probably want to start taking the supply level, okay? Because remember, on smaller time frames, it's either like all your demand levels are working or all your supply levels are working, but they're not, it's not often that they're all going to work at the same time, and that's because of where you're at in the big picture, right? You need to know which levels to ignore and which ones not to. All right. That's a key to using indicators and oscillators too, but all right. Yeah, so that's just a little clue here, all right? So watch for that. When on the initial drop in price from a supply level or initial rally from a demand level, if price just goes right through the first couple levels it hits, means it's the origin of that move is probably a pretty decent level, okay? Not always, but the vast majority of the time, all right? So let's move on. Yep. This euro's kind of dead here. It doesn't look like it's moving much. I was hoping maybe we'd get a little rally into our area, but not yet. We could take a look at euro yen. Let's take a look. Okay, let me capture the picture for you. I saw a question on time, kind of just a tip on when to bail on a trade time-wise. That's a great question. And here's my version of the answer. Think about the whole supply-demand concept, okay? Your best levels, the best levels are levels where supply and demand is out of balance in a big way. So, when prices come into those areas, would you expect price to be there for a long time or just a short period of time? Just a short period of time, right? Okay. So if you look back at your trades, you will find that your best trades worked out very quickly. It didn't take a lot of time for that trade to work out. Does that make sense? Okay. So I don't know that I can give you a good tip on an exact timeline to put on it. But just know that, if the trade doesn't work out quickly, it's usually not a good sign, okay? The further out you are on the supply-demand curve, the quicker your trade's going to work out, bigger the profit margin, all that stuff, okay? Okay, let's take a look at euro yen. Someone wanted to look at that. Here it is. Okay. All right, let me clean this up a little bit. So big picture, yeah, this thing has been way down. A lot of people have been watching this market. Okay. But on the daily chart, you know, if this thing goes a little bit lower, right down just above the 106 area, there's a decent little level there we've been watching. So I think we're going to focus on that one. Okay. Let me draw that in, and then we'll get a little sell set up here as well. All right. So let me just re-grab the chart for you just a second. Demand level below. Okay. And but prices, you know, prices are not that close to that area. They could fall pretty quick. All right. Okay. Boyke, I'm not sure what you mean. Do you agree we only get half the picture here on FX? I'm not sure, FXG. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Explain that a little bit more, and I'll get it. Sorry, I'm a little slow. Okay. So let's see if we can find an area to sell short at for a potential move down to that level. Okay. It looks like, you know, it's focused on that 109.20, but price has already been back to the level. It's hard to find a fresh level here, but let's see. How about this? Hold on just a second. And right now we're looking at euro yen. Yeah, there's some fresh levels, but they're so much higher, it's not even worth putting them on right now. Okay. So, I mean, there's fresh levels at, I guess, 109.50. We could go with that one, but let me just draw that in just so we have something. I guess it's not that much higher. All right, let me draw that in, and then we'll have our level on top and level on bottom. Okay. And this really forces you to trade out at the extremes where the profit margins are very high. Okay. All right, so let me clean this up. Okay, take a look at that. So we've got our big level below and our smaller time frame level above. These are the two areas of focus that I would focus on. Okay. There's not a whole lot to slow things down in this euro yen before they get to this level, so the 110 level looks better, but you know it's quite a ways up there. Boyke, let's see. Sorry, I missed you. Yeah, you know that's always my dilemma. If you have an answer for that, Boyke, certainly let me know. You know, leading the XLT program, which is a fully paid, you know, trading room and education room. It's a whole big program and package. And then doing free events too. So leading both of those, I'm always stuck with you know, what do? You want to give the most information you can, but going to the strategy details of the XLT would be, you know, I would get hate mail and bombs sent to me from the XLT members. So, but you know, we've hit some big trades here, and you know, we go over all the pieces. If you focus on the odds enhancers and all the stuff we do here, I think you should be okay. Okay. Yeah, so William, good question there. How far back do you go? Okay, to look to the left. The key is you have to go back as far as you need to. For short-term trading, often you're not going to need to go back further than the prior, you know, day or so. Okay. But longer-term stuff, you know, sometimes you're going to have to go back further. And even daily stuff. Look, if you're making a new, say, 1 month high in a market, so even as a short-term trader, you're going to have to go back at least 1 month to find fresh supply levels. Okay? All right? Makes sense? Okay, let me just go back and catch up on some of these. Hey, thanks, SD. Hopefully it's helpful. I also had an email problem about right after our last session, so if you sent an email you didn't get a reply, I apologize for that. Please resend. I've got plenty of time over the break here to get back to them. So let me just read back here. Tony, let's see. When price turns from an uptrend, for example, is the first level at one's very top level. It depends, Tony. There might be, so that level that you're talking about there would be the rally-based drop. So yeah, you probably want to short the first retracement into that. But you have to make sure there's a significant profit zone with it, profit margin with it. And if there's a little drop-based drop just before it, obviously that's going to make it better. That was that British pound example I showed you. Okay. Let's see. All right. So yeah, that's the euro yen here. And let's take a look at one more. Okay, let me just bring one up here. Just a second. Hold on, I'll get it up here for you. I know this is a Forex market, but the euro and a lot of Forex markets certainly are very related to the equity index market. So let's look at the biggest one in the world. Okay. Janeda, I don't believe you can. I believe you have to. I don't believe you can, but don't quote me on that. Okay. All right. So take a look at this S&P. So there's these two areas circled. Remember this lower one, I'm going to remove the circle because we've hit that level and had a huge drop in price from that level. This upper one is a level that we're not really at yet. Okay. I mean, the S&P is slowly drifting up to that area. Let's get exact prices in here. And for those of you that have really been around for a while, in last year, if you remember March of 2009, in just about every recording and thing that I put out there and wrote, we nailed that S&P low March of 2009 because it was right into a fresh monthly, weekly level, whatever you want to call it. So these larger time frame fresh levels are key. So there you go. And the truth is, we haven't really gotten through, if you broke this recent level into maybe two parts like I was showing you earlier, and we still haven't traded through the upper portion of this level. So the level I'm drawing in now that I'm going to share with you, which is right here, okay? Remember, I'm drawing now in the upper portion of this level. If you draw the whole level in, we've already hit that level, twice. But this upper portion we're just getting into now. And then above that, we've got another level, okay? 1,300, I don't know that we go with 1,300 because there's nothing over here, Dudley, where I'm pointing is you used to have a bunch of red candles at 1,300. Okay. So, anyway, there's the S&P. Okay. Now, if prices get up to that upper level in the S&P and the euro, is into one of its levels, for example, right? So you can start to see these. What I strongly suggest you have if you're a Forex swing trader, have a workspace set up with just weekly charts. And don't just have Forex markets up there. Have the S&P and the bond markets as well. And you will see such a clear correlation in the larger time frames. I think that'll really help you. Okay? So on that, I know we're kind of running out of time here. Let me just put my email address in here. Seiden@tradingacademy.com. There you go. Seiden@tradingacademy.com if you have a question or comment. Yeah, there's some levels stuck way down there, but there's a bunch of levels that come up before that. So, all right, yeah, have a great holiday, everybody, and hopefully this was helpful. And if you have any questions over the break, just send an email. I have plenty of time. Happy to help. Yeah, happy holidays, everybody. Thanks.